we decided to go to the ultimate shipper, to the persons who knew the products inside and out, knew us, knew ION, knew everything. And our new shipping department is created, formulated, and run by our own Ginny Gunther. Take a bow. Take a bow.
Yay! Yes. Yeah.
So the incredible customer service that you've been having is now translated into incredible shipping and handling and customer service, because through the months, Ginny learned, what was missing, what people really want. They want their packages fast, for one thing, and over the past week or so, we've transitioned from the old our most recent shipper to the auspices of Ginny, and over the next couple of weeks we'll start making some really important announcements of how Ginny has been able to single-handedly streamline the shipping and give us all the benefits of that. So we'll be talking about that in future radio shows. And I think one of the main things that differs from this new shipping is its location. It's closer to a lot of people. It's closer to Europe. So Ginny's telling me that people in India are getting their packages within a week. And amazing things are happening. And it's because of the love vibe probably that goes into the whole operation. One of the other things that's happened at the same time is this shift in shipping is we have gotten a new formula for Realign. So we'll go into that, but first I'll let Ginny talk more about the shipping. Anything you'd like to say to people about that, Ginny?
I think the main thing is that I think people who listen to the radio show know, but if they're just listening to the archive or whatever, just joining us for the first time, they just have to know how committed we are to getting everything right as quickly as we can. And one of the things that was not really conducive to us doing our own internal system from the beginning was the shipping volume. You have to have good shipping volume in order to garner the kind of discounts and things that people want. And they want their packages quickly, and they want them like they're coming from Amazon or iHerb or something. And in the beginning, it was kind of frustrating because we're like, hold on, we're just trying to figure this out. So I think we've gotten the volumes where they need to be. The next thing is just the efficiency, and then the next thing that will come is the improvement on the actual packaging itself. So it's all in progress. We're very committed to creating a world-class product and a world-class delivery system, and also our international customers, have probably been the most patient of all as we've moved through all kinds of different shipping mechanisms and everything, trying to get it as quickly as we can to them, as affordably as we can, with the least amount of damage, and we have to consider everything. And it's funny, the people who work in the shipping department, it is ironic to think that one person would just order one little tiny sample bottle of RNA drops to go all the way around the world, to random places like South Africa. We ship a lot of products to South Africa, and it's not that it's a random place, but it's a long way to go for a little mini bottle. And so we have a worldwide audience, and we have to meet the demands of every single kind of customer, every single kind of speaking tongue and everything, and get them there in a way that the products aren't, compromised in any way. So we're doing it, and it's only going to continue. It's only going to improve, and the people who will benefit are the customers who've been with us the longest, not just because of they benefit in their health, but they're going to benefit with all the other things that we're going to continue to do to improve our systems and our deliveries. So it's exciting.
Yeah, it's very exciting. And I noticed today, the first of the new year, the first Monday of the new year, the sales were off the charts. I think people started to realize that you were starting to ship. I think, did you ship Friday? You shipped Friday. For
yeah, we did.
Very first time, right? Right.
Yeah, yeah.
And now today's your second day, so I think the universe responded to you because it was I noticed it was a pretty crazy busy day.
It was a lot of fun, but it's so exciting, Carolyn, to see, firsthand how, really people do take advantage of 10% off for 12 bottles of Remag. They want that discount. It's exciting to see how people are using the products. They're really using the entire line. They order, the RNA drops, the Remag, the Relight, the Realign, and the Renew Serum. We get a lot of orders like that. So it's really rewarding to see people, and I see the names come through, and I'm like, oh, my God, there's so-and-so. It's just so fun. So it's just fun. A month from now I may be like, oh, my God, but, it's fun. It's very fun.
Well, you're even, I hear, training your relatives to take over, and it's already nepotism in the works, so there you go.
Well, you have to get people in there that you can really trust. So yes, I do have help from the peanut gallery, but the whole point is develop a system that we can also take into other parts of the country, because other parts of the world, because we have a demand for full distribution all over the world. So we're doing it. It's fun. It's exciting, and the product works. And the evidence of that is, I still go back to Ryan Floor 124, 1 bottle, then 2 bottles, then 4 bottles. It happens all the time, and people feel amazing. And when we can get this shipping thing really nailed down and offer everything that we desire to offer in the way that we desire to offer it, we'll be unstoppable. It's just there's nobody who can touch this product. None of it.
No, I have some testimonials later on that I'll read that are just awesome. But now I want to talk about Realign. And what happened with the Realign formula is it contains a folate. It did contain a folic acid. Folic acid is not methylated, but a folate is a methylated folic acid. So right around the time when people are being very concerned about the MTHFR gene mutation and methylation, and I first came across methylation many years ago in dealing with the autistic community, where these children have problems with methylation, and we realized that certain things, either in the mercury of the vaccines or yeast overgrowth in these kids, or the measles vaccine would affect their ability to methylate. And so it became a problem. And now instead of going to the processing of this folic acid, which is a B vitamin, making sure it's either food-based or methylated, making sure there's enough magnesium to process this methylation physiology, doctors, researchers just started going to the genes and saying, oh, it's a gene mutation. And, when you hear that something is a gene mutation, you give up. You throw up your hands and say, well, I guess that's that. Might as well wait for the grave. But partly what we can look at with our Realign now is that we're working with actually 5 methyl compounds, methylated compounds, to help the methylation process. We also make sure our people are taking the Remag, which has magnesium, which is a cofactor in the methylation pathways, and we want everybody to be taking a Realign as well with the other minerals that are important in metabolic function. So I've never really given a huge dissertation on Realign because I was always waiting to get the methylated folic acid. It was held up for many years, actually, because it was being patented by a drug company, as well most of the supplements, I'm afraid. Except not Remag and Realign because they're such low potency. But it was held up. Finally, with our last manufacturing batch, we have a Realign that has the B2, the riboflavin in methylated form, the B6 methylated form. B12 has been added. We have 500 micrograms in each capsule of Realign. The dosage is 2 a day. So you're getting 1,000 micrograms of methylated B12. And this is very, very important. If you read about B12, everybody needs their B12, and a lot of people aren't getting that one either. So instead of creating a B12 product, we just put it in with the lineup. There's no increased cost with that, although it was a cost to us. We switched out the folic acid to a patented methylfolate. We kept in our taurine and methionine, the 2 sulfur-based amino acids. There's also a betaine HCl, which is a methylated substance as well. So it really is quite an awesome formula for daily detox, for getting the trash out on a daily basis. And most people in the alternative medicine community are saying that we do have to detox daily, but they'll go about it with chelation, like oral EDTA chelation that will just chelate out whatever's there. I remember testing EDTA chelation on myself. I'd set up my own EDTA drip, intravenous drip. I'm very good at finding veins. I don't know if it's my tiny fingers, but I can find veins on most people, or used to be able to. So I put my own intravenous in, do my EDTA chelation, and lo and behold, after about 2 or 3, my knees started to hurt. So I realized I was just dragging out my calcium, for Pete's sakes. So I know these chelators they're stupid. Like I say, antibiotics are stupid. They will not just go and do what you want them to do or what you imagine them to do in taking out heavy metals or mercury or aluminums or the bad things. They'll take out everything. And what I love about our Realign is that the methionine especially is a precursor to glutathione. And glutathione is the body's most important antioxidant. Instead of just, forcing antioxidants into your body with intravenous vitamin C, for example, or high dose of intravenous glutathione itself, we say the body is smart enough to take the methionine and the methylated Bs, take the magnesium and the Remag and the other minerals it requires, and it will make the glutathione it requires at the moment. What if in a particular moment you don't want an antioxidant like glutathione bathing all over the place? What if at that moment that's the exact opposite of what you want? So to make sure that the body is in charge, the Realign is just giving the body the precursors to make the glutathione, giving it the B vitamins with the methylated components, so the pathways that require methylated Bs are all activated, and that is our Realign. And I have pages and pages of notes about taurine and how important that is, the sulfur side chain on the on the taurine is very important for the different sulfur pathways in the body. I think probably what I'll have to do next, Ginny, is write a little ebook on Realign, because now that we have the folate in it, I can be very, very clear about the perfection of this formula and really promote it. It's not that the other formula, that there was nothing wrong with it, but it's just that the folate part, the methylfolate, is much more effective in the body. So that's our Realign. So I expect everybody to be on Realign and be on it every day, because as a natural detoxifier, every day we're asking the body to deal with a lot of external environmental toxicity and changes. We're asking it to eat sugar and drink alcohol, and the Realign is especially good for helping the liver break down sugars and alcohols. And I'll let Ginny jump in about Realign, and then we'll talk about these past few days I've been Facebooking a lot about sugar. So that's the Realign position. What do you say to that, Ginny?
Well, I wanted to say, first of all, congratulations, because I know you've been oh, my God, the demonic children are really at it today. I know that you've been waiting a long time to get the patented product. One thing I will say is that sometimes as we improve our product, people think that the previous one is not good anymore. Like, for example, Janella says, then it's the old Realign, no good now.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's not bad at all. The old Realign was great, and it's still very great. She goes on to say, my husband was told he had been taking methylated Bs due to a gene mutation. He's had unfavorable reactions when taking Realign. So what would you say about that, Carolyn?
Well, we've never had anyone who's told us that. People will look at the label and say about the folic acid, well, my doctor told me not to take it, so I won't take it. But I've yet to hear of someone who had unfavorable reactions. And you see, I would be, wondering, well, what was unfavorable? Was it a detox reaction? Was there, how much was taken? There's so much involved with that sort of so-called reaction. But, what people have been asking me over the past year or so is when are you going to have your folate available, and they've just held back and are waiting for it. But for the rest of us, I mean, Ginny, if you have any of the old stuff left over, Bob and I will use it up, no problem.
We don't have any old stuff, really, not that much. And the thing of it is that the old stuff was what Deborah and I have been using for our partying and margarita nights and everything. And that's the stuff that's been holding back the breathalyzers and everything. So I'm not sure that, I don't know what the new one's going to do. I think it's going to be very exciting to see how people respond to it. But I think like I said, the old formula has been great. I call it the Cinderella of the complement formulas because it is in the basement doing all the dirty work and not getting a lot of the credit. And it is a very gentle detoxifier, as you said, Carolyn. It is a very natural way. Simple. And I, just because all these different forms and people are always sending me things, I mean, I'm shocked at what the extremes that people will go through to try to, quote, unquote, detoxify their bodies. As a matter of fact, I know our one little friend down in Houston, who has become, a huge, Carolyn fan, had to get on the magnesium because of the very thing you said, the chelation. It stripped his body of all the minerals.
Right, right. Amazing.
So, yeah. All the points are perfect, of course, and this Realign is going to be fantastic, even better than the one that we have, and the one that we have I always thought was very, very awesome.
Yeah, we just continue to improve things. So, yes, folks, send in your comments. And this person about the husband having reactions, I'd really like to hear what they were or what they are. And if you could, I guess go to the archives at carolyndeanlive.com and just type in MTHFR. And I've had a lot to say about this gene mutation where, as I said, instead of going back to the basics of the properly absorbed minerals and the precursors to methionine, the way we're working with the body from the ground up, doctors are now saying it's a gene mutation, but the genes are controlled by the environment. And the best environmental gene balancer is actually magnesium. So if people are having supposed problems with the MTHFR, I'd say that they really need to get themselves saturated with magnesium to balance things out.
She had mentioned that the detox with her husband was probably just uncomfortable feeling, upset stomach, and then short, quick pain in the stomach, which was relieved after bowel movement, so it was probably a detox reaction. And also she said he took 1 or 2 capsules with food, and I think starting with the Realign, because it is very powerful, it's important to just, our instructions are to take 1 with the meal. Not good to double up on the Realign right out of the gate. Would you agree, Carolyn?
Yes, and uncomfortable feeling in the stomach, yes, it's very difficult sometimes for people to know what is a healing reaction. And I guess when you look at the ingredients of the Realign, it's B vitamins, it's a betaine HCl. I don't know if that amount of betaine HCl could have been a little acidic for the stomach, but taking it with food means that it's going to lessen anything like that. And when the body sort of feels something, it's like, oh, okay, I'm alive. But, you just have to observe. Something is going to shift. And in the shifting, that's where people have to use their intuition and discern what's happening. That's why I wrote that long blog, and it's in our Remag book, the blog called When Magnesium Makes Me Worse, because sometimes when you're waking up systems that have been asleep for decades, and the body is going to have something to say about it. So, and that's why people listen to the show, to just kind of understand and reinforce, and why I continually write all this information so you can understand where it's coming from. But then again, you often have a wife who's telling the husband to do this, and it's going to make you feel great, and then they feel a little yucky in the stomach and say, well, this is crap. So it is very hard to be the administrator of nutrients to someone who doesn't do their own research, who doesn't understand what might be happening.
I agree. Yeah, nutrient base is definitely different. And, of course, people have the same kind of thing, across the board. But I agree, Carolyn. It's challenging to get people to kind of just be patient with the body as it makes these adjustments. But it's worth it because, boy, when people, start to feel better, and they don't have to go to the hospital, they don't have to live at the doctor's office, they can expect to feel good. They can expect their bodies to work well. They don't have to factor disease or any of these other things into their life plan. I mean, it's very, very liberating to have a healthy, whole, complete program that's so affordable and allows people to feel so good.
Right, and a lot of people will say it this way to us, that I went on the products, I felt so much better, I looked so much better, that convinced my partner to get involved or my family to get involved. And this testimonial from this woman, I didn't even send it to you yet, Ginny. It just came in today, and I think it says it all. I'll just quickly read through it. I'm 54 years old, a female. I've had hypoglycemia since my 20s, diagnosed with hypothyroidism in my 40s, although I started losing my hair in my 30s. Also, I have been battling weight gain most of my life. I have also just entered menopause and was having an awful time with hot flashes and many sleepless nights. I've been on the Complement formulas for 1 year and 3 months. I take 3 teaspoons of Remag, 2 teaspoons of Relight, 20 RNA drops twice a day, 2 Realign a day, and I use the Renew on my face in the morning and in the evening. The first thing I noticed was that my hair got a lot darker. I still have silver, but the rest of my hair got really dark, and as a result, the contrast is quite beautiful. The second thing I noticed is that my hair grew back. It grew back where I lost it first and just recently filled in where I had lost it last, which happened to be right in the front. My hair is longer than it has ever been in my life, and I love it. My thyroid is working, and I'm not on any thyroid medication anymore. I'm hungry, I eat a good amount of food, and I'm losing weight. I have so much energy. I used to walk an hour or so a day, but now I do interval training 3 times a week, lunges 2 times a week, and I just added jumping over logs to my routine, all while I am walking, and I'm not tired. I find this truly amazing. Let's talk a little bit more about my physical changes. I've always hated my legs. My 2 sisters always had beautiful legs, but mine were fat and ugly, no matter how much weight I lost. Recently, I saw my sister, who I haven't seen in a while, and the first thing she noticed were my legs and how nice they looked. My sister-in-law told me how beautiful my legs were, and wow, this blew my mind. My girlfriend and I were out the other night, and she told me I looked super hot. A new male friend thought I was only 39 years old, and she's 54. People are constantly commenting on how beautiful my skin looks, and I can see it too, hardly any wrinkles and a lot less sagging. My body is truly becoming lean and muscular, just as I have always wanted. My eyesight is so much better. I used to need those reading glasses everywhere in my house. Used to need them, so I could see who was calling on the phone, read on the computer, read a book, etc. I do not need them anymore. I can read a menu, I can see who's calling, I can read the computer screen, and I can read my book at night. I got rid of all those glasses. I'm finally sleeping through the night. My brain has changed. I can understand really complex things that I couldn't or wouldn't understand before. I'm learning a new language. I'm studying the ins and outs of our economy so I can understand what's going on in the financial world. I'm thinking about writing a children's book and continuing with my art in a new medium. This is also incredible. So many products out there talk about doing some of this, but yours are the only ones that truly do. My husband, who is 67 years old, has had a similar experience on them as well. I now look forward to getting older as I continue to grow younger. I don't think I can express enough gratitude to you, Bob, Ian, and Ginny. Thank you for all that you do and all that you continue to do, and I will continue to do my part by spreading the word. Isn't that amazing?
Holy cow. Wow, that is such a beautiful, beautiful letter. That's wonderful.
And how, coherent and measured, and this is what happens to people on the whole protocol. It is quite incredible.
Wow. And what I love about it, too, is that she's been doing it for a while, you know. I mean, that's another thing, you know, is to get in, stay on, just allow it to do these real beautiful, subtle changes, and then all of a sudden they're very profound and amazing, and they're substantial. And it is really, truly the way that it works. So congratulations to her. That is a beautiful, beautiful testimonial. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and I dove in with that, whereas I said I was going to talk about my Facebooking of sugar, but I'll turn it over to you because we're past the half hour, and I don't know if you want to go to the phones or do mailbag or in quick.
Well, we have a couple in quick, so let's do those, and then we'll see. We are live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on Achieve Radio, our first live show this year, 2015. Not that we get into the whole time scene, but it's fun to talk about it every once in a while, pretend it exists. 602-666-6027 is the phone number. That's 602-666-6027. You can call and talk with Carolyn specifically about a question you have or a concern you want to share about anything that you're experiencing, health, vitality, or well-being-wise, and also pick her brain about a lot of different things, like a gal from New York, Janella, who writes in, "Hi, I've had a sinus infection for about a month. I've been prescribed antibiotics without success. Last night was mostly toss and turn, sleepless nights due to a runny nose, cough, etc. I have no loss of appetite or energy. I teach high school. I'm just feeling lousy as if I have a cold. A doc in a box center said I have a sinus infection, no fever. My husband started me on RNA drops 2 days ago. I'm wondering what total biology says."
Well, first of all, for sinus infections, I get people to do the Netipot, Netipot, which is putting some salt water and baking soda and 1 drop of tea tree oil in a little pot with a spout on it that you stick in your nose, and you tilt your head and you pour the solution through from one nostril, comes out the other, and it perfuses the sinuses and takes the tea tree oil to the infection, because even with antibiotics, an infection in the sinuses is usually in all the mucus in the hollow spaces, so the circulation isn't great enough to get an antibiotic there. So as soon as I hear someone who's had sinus infections in their youth, I know that they've probably had a lot of antibiotics and probably have yeast overgrowth. Sinuses, let me see.
Now, Carolyn, what about colloidal silver? You can't use that for can you use colloidal silver for that?
Yes, there are colloidal silver sprays, nasal sprays even. Yes, you can. I haven't used them much. I know I do talk about them periodically, and that's a possibility. The one that I recommend that I know is pure is the, immunogenics. Let me look them up.
It's immunogenic sovereign silver.
Yeah, sovereign silver, yeah. Yeah, people will take oral, or you can spray it, their colloidal silver cream. So, yeah, that would work or could work as well. But it's treating yeast, it's doing Netipot, perhaps doing silver. That really helps a person. If you've been on antibiotics, you do have to look at the possibility of yeast overgrowth, because even the Mayo Clinic said that 97% of sinus infections were fungal related.
Now, she is typing in, Carolyn, and saying that for this infection, the doctor strongly suggested not to do the Netipot. She didn't agree with that at all. Can you make a comment on that?
Well, I don't know what the doctor's seen, and I can't tell you to do something if a doctor told you not to do it. You have to use your own intelligence about it. But, what you would do is ask the doctor, have you ever done an Netipot? And if they say no, then, they're just sort of passing on some sort of negative old wives' tale. But
well, she said the doctor suggested a saline nasal spray, nasal wash, and eating yogurt. What does yogurt have to do with it?
Well, that's the good bacteria, the probiotic. But you know, I know with me, I would not eat yogurt around the time of a sinus infection, just in case it created more mucus. Dairy products will create mucus. So, I mean, the doctor's kind of 50% right. Got some of it going on, but not everything. Yeah, doctors, if they didn't learn about neti pots in medical school, then it's quackery in their mind. So you have to do research and test these things out. But a chronic sinus infection, or I don't know that it's chronic with this person, but in the total biology, it's the conflict, you know, partly that occurs around these times of holiday. It's the healing phase of a conflict of separation is one possibility, where people are, you know, they're all together and then they're apart again, and there's a separation. Or it can be, I know I looked up colds recently, and that can be conflict. The story is that people, when they're planning for the holidays, they know they have to share the air with someone they may not like. And so that they don't have to share the air, they'll kind of block up their breathing apparatus. Sounds funny.
Wow.
But
yeah, I do think the holidays have a lot to do with people getting sick, Carolyn. There are probably psychological, total biology, emotional conflicts there, right? Yeah.
Right, and then there's the weakness in the mucous membranes because it's trying to stretch out or separate itself from the air, as I said, and then it's vulnerable, and then with all kinds of people getting together in confined spaces, there are a lot of germs around, and if it was all about germs, everybody would get sick, but only a certain percentage do. So those supposedly are the people who are going through a conflict.
Very
so
cool.
You just kind of look at, the possibility, okay, yeah, there may have been some conflict and conflict of separation, or I didn't want to share air, and then, the germs are around and I got infected, and then in most cases you go to a doctor and they just put you on the antibiotic, which is kind of doesn't do anything to heal the situation. It just gives you more symptoms. You start getting into the yeast overgrowth problem.
Wow. Very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, that was a great interaction for our InQuick messaging person there. Very good. She said, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate taking I apologize for taking up so much time, even though I appreciate your response. No problem. That's what we're here for. Okay. Also, Marie in the Gold Coast of Australia, Carolyn. I would love it if Carolyn would tell everyone how my Burmese cat, Mia, has been taking Remag and Relight every day. She looks for it. She's lost weight. Doing this, her fur isn't so shiny as it used to be, and she's happy and calm. I've been taking products for 5 months now, and my hands are starting to benefit from this, as I haven't been able to close them in the morning for 3 years. Wow.
Oh,
Carolyn, you are my God.
Oh, Marie, you're your own God. But, yes, you remember Mia, Ginny, she's got a cameo spot on the RNA Reset Facebook page. She's lapping up her Remag water.
Yes, I do. She's a very pretty cat. Very pretty cat.
Yeah.
And Marie sent us lots of videos of her. Yeah, it's very funny. It's sweet.
Right. So it's animals go for what they know their body wants and desires. It's like the animals that travel hundreds of miles to a salt lick, and the animals need their minerals. And I don't know how much attention is paid to minerals in animal food and cat food. So yeah, she's getting what she wants, and with the Relight, yeah, that's going to help her thyroid and her immune system and everything, and losing weight. Yeah, that's the different minerals that are important for food metabolism and for the working of the pancreas. So yeah, it's all very helpful for both humans and animals. I know we don't specifically have animal products. I didn't want to get into that whole line, but we just tell people, well, give your animals a few drops of Remag and a few drops of Relight, and see what happens.
The milk foam products are probably the closest simulation that I've seen of for dogs, at least, with the minerals, Carolyn, because, you know, this is where cats and dogs get their actual minerals, is by chewing bones. And cats would traditionally get it from eating the bones of either small rats, mice, moles, or also chickens. And dogs get it from their carnivorous behaviors. And so they're looking for the mineral content. And what's funny is, you know, the calcium, the magnesium, the boron, these are all ingredients, phosphate, phosphorus, these are all the things that are in the milk foam product. So I couldn't figure out why my pet liked the mineral products until I realized that's what they're used to eating. And, of course, we don't give them meat bones, but that's what they're craving.
Yes, so exactly right. And the bone products, they'd be very heavy in the calcium and a little too low in the magnesium. So by adding the Remag, then along with the Relight, you have a very good balance.
Yeah, it's very cool. Yeah, a lot of pets. And also we have quite a few natural vet practitioners now that are ordering the products, that are using them, especially out of the United States. That's a very popular thing with people with large breeds, large animals like the horses. We have a couple people down in Australia who are really into it. So we are getting holistic vets and practitioners who work with animals who are using the Remag and the Relight in appropriate, levels just for working with the animals that they're treating. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah,
I first started studying these well-absorbed minerals with a veterinarian, and I could see the benefits of the minerals from his cases. He'd talk about small pets, small dog who wouldn't, if they would come in with their pneumonia and be gasping for air, he'd have to put up an intravenous drip and give them minerals, but at that time it was the angstrom minerals. If they could even drink a bit, they could start getting the minerals, and it would start clearing their lungs. So it's like animal experiments right there in the office.
That's right, but of a highly beneficial nature. That is correct. Yeah. That's correct. Not like I am. Ooh, did I use that name over there? Anyway, sorry. Anyway, okay, so we're live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. Welcome, everybody. About 10 minutes to the top of the hour. And, again, if you're interested in talking to Carolyn, 602-666-6027 is the call-in number for the show. You can use the InQuick messaging system, as many of our listeners from around the world, including our good friend Lillian, who I recognize. She's down in Jamaica. What a great place to be, Carolyn. Well, you're in Maui, so you're already maxed out with the great places to be. But anyway, so we're happy to have everybody tuning in this evening. If you'd like to call and talk with Carolyn, 602-666-6027. Otherwise, Carolyn, we could let's talk about the sugar thing that's going on, because that's a huge thing that's happening right now on our Facebook page and stuff, and then we'll come back and take some calls and things later.
Right. Instead of writing a blog this weekend, a medical press article came in my mailbox, or I think someone sent it to me. They knew the hassles I had with the sugar industry up in Canada and how they complained to my licensing board that I said bad things about sugar on national TV, and that caused them to investigate me because I was a bad doctor because I was saying bad things about sugar. And every time an article comes about sugar, you know, the bad side of sugar, people say, well, you're another vindication. And this was pretty huge. People can go to our Facebook pages, either the Carolyn Dean one or the Magnesium Miracle book page or RNA Reset, and click on this article. It's called Scientific Team Sounds the Alarm on Sugar as a Source of Disease. And it's a good long article. It goes into the way sugars are being added, the high fructose corn syrup, and within it, it talks about a website called Sugar Science, sugarscience.org, I think it is, and Sugar Science has Dr. Robert Lustig in it, on the board of it, I should say. He's a pediatric endocrinologist, and I've blogged him before. He's done a long YouTube on sugar. So just Google his name, Robert Lustig, Lustig. And I guess it's not anything new to the folks who listen to this show, but the statistics about the rise in diabetes, that almost 10% of the population has diabetes, and, you know, that's only the ones that have been diagnosed, and people getting all kinds of liver disease because their livers are getting jammed up with sugars. The liver is not metabolizing the sugars. And what really, I think, expresses it well, this disparity in the sugar that we eat and how our body can handle it, is at any one time in the bloodstream there are only 2 teaspoons of sugar, and a can of soda has 10 teaspoons of sugar. So when you drink that 10 teaspoons of sugar, the body goes into panic. It's like a hyper alert, you know. You could imagine all the sounds in a submarine, you know, dive, 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 because the body has to deal with this 10 teaspoons of sugar. And at the point where it can't do that anymore, where the pancreas is completely overworked and can't put out the insulin, and the cells are insulin resistant and they won't let any more sugar inside, then the sugar just goes around and sort of attacks the eyes and attacks the kidneys and attacks the peripheral circulation, and then you get all the side effects of diabetes. And what I put into the Facebook conversation, besides putting this article on Facebook, was the fact that there are 28 molecules of magnesium required to metabolize 1 molecule of sucrose, table sugar, and 56 molecules of magnesium required to metabolize 1 molecule of fructose. What Lustig says is that when we went to the high fructose corn syrup sweeteners, we really blew it, because the liver can't process fruit sugar as easily as table sugar. And yet the whole advertising campaign about high fructose corn syrup was, it's fruit sugar, it's perfectly safe. And people went crazy, and all the sodas changed to high fructose corn syrup. So with these Facebook pages, people should go on and look at the dialogue, and people talking about how their sugar cravings were reduced when they started taking magnesium, and good information like that that people will benefit by hearing and reinforcing the need for magnesium for their sugar cravings. And of course, with sugar as well, there's the candida overgrowth that I talk about day in and day out. That we want to get people reduced on their sugar intake so that they don't feed their candida in their intestines, which causes a lot of yeast toxins, including things like acetaldehyde, which takes up more magnesium in order to metabolize that aldehyde. And in the midst of the aldehyde and magnesium, there's the whole methylation process as well, which is blocked by acetaldehyde. So it comes full circle. So, yeah, a lot of things to review on the Facebook pages. And, yeah, I appreciate somehow, thousands and thousands of people get to see those posts and learned a lot. And I think the timing was perfect because it was right after all the binging we all did over Christmas. But some of us had the Realign to help metabolize all that sugar.
That's right. And I think that's one thing, too, is the balance between we know that people who use the RNA drops do not have to struggle with the same kind of metabolism issues as well, because the drops work through the cellular membrane to bring new information into the cells that allow the cells to replicate more perfectly. They don't seem to struggle under that same inundation. And also, I've noticed that a lot of people who use the drops say their appetite for sugars changed, as well as completely diminish and or fall away. So there's that aspect of it, too, with the drops, as well as using the other complement formulas. I mean, the whole body just is recalibrated in such a way that it may not be the issue that it once was.
Right, yes. The super sugar in RNA drops is the key to helping the body to metabolize the sugars. But at the same time, I certainly recommend to people to keep it down to a dull roar. And what you do is you have the experiment that you just did over the holidays. Well, how did you feel after a couple of days of desserts and alcohol? And if you felt yucky, then, okay, don't do that so much. Or practice with your Realign to help break down the sugar so that it leaves your body faster. So, yeah, it's all a great, wonderful experiment.
Yes, and I think the thing that's so great about the using the RNA drops as well, with the information that came through the article, I saw the bitter truth, and one of the things that it emphasizes is that people are so unaware of their body, their food, what they're doing, what they're eating, and the RNA drops really tune you into your body, I think, too. Don't you, Carolyn? So that you become more aware of what your body wants and what it desires, and the things that it doesn't desire. You just don't inundate it with stuff like that anymore.
Yeah, good, very good point, yeah. Okay.
All right, everybody, here we are, the top of the hour. We're taking a break, and we'll be right back. This is Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. Again, our first live show of the year. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Stay tuned, everybody. Welcome back, everybody. We're live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here at achieveradio.com. This is our first show of 2015, live tonight, hour 2, coming right at you. And, of course, we've got some great callers, some great mailbag content, more interesting and dynamic conversations with Dr. Dean. Thanks, everybody, for joining us this evening. If you're listening live and you'd like to talk with Dr. Dean, you can call 602-666-6027, and we'll put you on the line with her, as we have had some people already do this evening. Thanks for being patient and holding on until we get to the top of this hour. Also, if you're listening to the archive, as many other people do, and you have a question that you'd like Carolyn to address in next Monday's show, just send us an email to support, SUPPORT, at rnareset.com. That's support at rnareset.com, and we will be happy to address your questions as long as it's not too technical. It's kind of funny because the balance between giving Carolyn the right amount of information and then almost getting over into that flip side of needing a consult. Carolyn, you want to talk about that for a little bit?
Right. Yes, sir. I wish we could, and I do say to some people when they email me a huge history, I give them my FAQ where I say, go to the archives, read this, do this. There's so much information that is available, and I obviously can't do one-on-one emails both for legal and time reasons, but I'll get, for example, here's just a short email. I think this is a male person. I have stomach problems for 20 years. I'm 30 now. It seems to be getting worse. I don't have any energy. My head hurts pretty much every day. I can't sleep. I have constipation, anxiety, and stress. I've taken so many different vitamins, minerals, thyroid products the last 10 years and can't tell that anything helped. I feel like I probably have leaky gut. I have every symptom, but I have symptoms of a lot of stuff. What would you recommend to take and how much of it? Thanks. So, I mean, this is a person who has everything and just wants me in an email to tell them what to do. So I just send them to the Remag and Relight books. And actually in the Relight book, the last edition, we put in something, I think it's called Complement Formulas Protocol. And we've probably talked about it, but it's very basic. Anybody can do this. While waiting, number one, while waiting for your products to arrive, begin hydrating your body by increasing water intake and adding sea salt. And then I give the guidelines. 2, when the products arrive, begin Realign to assist in detoxing and taking out the trash. And then 1 a day with, I say with or without meals, and that means if people feel it upsets their stomach a bit, then they take it with meals. Number 3, after 4 days of Realign, add Remag, and then add Relight. And after 2 weeks of the Realign, Remag, and Relight, add the RNA drop. So it's very straightforward, and I can just say to someone that I don't know, this is the general recommendation that you know, the way I would do it, or I would do it with my clients. So it makes it very easy for anybody to get in at that level. And then, you know, if people do their reading and take the products and then they have a question, then that's the time to do a consult. I mean, occasionally I'll get people emailing me constantly, well, you know, should I do a consult or not? And then, you know, they end up not giving me their history. It's just like, well, I have some problems, you know, tell me what to do. Whereas when I do a consult, it's a relationship. You have to give me enough information for me to put a picture together that in 1 hour I can give you a treatment plan. Otherwise, I mean, a lot of people have gone to dozens of doctors, spend hundreds of hours and thousands of dollars, and they haven't gotten anywhere. And, you know, some people expect the world in an hour, and actually with the complement formulas, that's quite possible. It is really quite amazing, the feedback from people who do most of it on their own and just have me for the fine-tuning.
A very good point is the fine-tuning piece. Carolyn, that people get the benefit of just talking with you. And we'd have the same thing. People email customer service, well, should I do one and what do I expect? And I don't know if they think that they're going to get into some kind of like a protracted treatment situation or something with you, which is so funny because the first thing you want to do is go to the beach. So you're like, get better, feel better, and I'll help you as much as I can. You've got to do all the work. And you're very good at getting right in, focusing, getting people right down to the basics, giving people their power back, and some really good basic structure with the formulas. And they're off and running. A lot of people really do benefit from that. So just tying in again, if you have questions, you can email support@rnareset.com, and you can also potentially do a consult with Carolyn. And also we have people who do use the formulas. Maybe they're doing it for a lot of different reasons. Maybe they do it for 3 or 4 months, and they hit a certain amount of success, and then they kind of plateau out. I encourage people to get a consult then, too. I'm like, well, if they come in, they get all giddy with excitement because they feel so much better. Then they start to consider that they could feel really, really good, and then sometimes they plateau out. And I'm like, well, then talk to Carolyn. Get in there and do a consult. It's only going to be 1 hour, and you'd be amazed at the fine-tuning that can happen that way. So that's another valuable thing people can do for themselves.
Right, and, I'd much rather that people did get their information, through the radio show and all that I write. I'm certainly not drumming up business. I'm busy enough, thank you, but I am here, as Ginny and I are saying, for fine-tuning, and I don't know if, I was just looking at the mailbag here. Did you want to go to the phones now, Ginny, because there's a very long mailbag we can go to that's kind of apropos of what we're talking about right now, but we can do that later.
Okay, well, let's circle back around because we also have a question about the sea salt in the water, which we addressed quite a bit, but we can come back around. But let me get that couple callers who've been holding on. So we'll go to area code 410, which is out in Maryland. You're on the line with Dr. Dean.
How you doing?
Hello. Good. Could you state your name and then question or comment?
My name is Dietrich.
Yes, hi, Dietrich. Go ahead.
How you doing, Dr. Dean?
Good, thanks.
My question is this. With the Realign and the Remag, are you affected if you take it with other supplements?
It's fine to be taken with anything else. I mean, the way it's so well absorbed, it does not seem to be affected by anything else that you take it with.
Okay, now, this is my real question here. I just wanted to know that first. Recently, I've been hospitalized because I had a scar on my arm, and it got infected. And
you had a what? I missed what it was. What was it?
It was a scar on my arm, like a sore.
Oh, yeah.
But it got infected. And with the infection, basically, they said my blood count was very low. It was 20, and it should have been at 40. And so they started doing a whole bunch of tests, testing my blood. Then they tried to tie it in.
Dietrich, I don't know what 20 and 40 refer to.
My blood level, not my sugar, my blood sugar, but my blood level, my T cells.
Oh, T cell. Okay, good. Okay, T cells low. Okay.
Right, and they said it was at 20, and it needed to be at 40. So they gave me a blood transfusion. They believed it was my kidneys. Then after they ran their tests, it wasn't my kidneys. They said I may have a leakage somewhere, which they couldn't find. I've been taking the Remag, Realign, and the RNA drops and the Realign for about 4 months. However, I haven't seen much of a change, and I'm just trying to wonder if I'm doing everything correct.
Well, I mean, there's a whole lot going on here. Talking about T cells, they don't usually transfuse for T cells. I don't know why they would have tested your kidneys unless you're talking about low iron and losing hemoglobin. Leakage reminds me of blood loss. So I don't have a clue what you're talking about. There's too much buried information, so I don't know what you're saying to me.
Well, yes, that's what they said. They said they believe I'm anemic, so that's why they wanted to give me the blood transfusion. And,
okay, so that's the information you should have given at the beginning, because I'm not getting the story here, and I don't know if you're being straight with me or what's going on.
No, I'm trying to get it all out, and I don't want to be long-winded.
Okay.
and so that's what it is. And I'm basically with my kidneys because I'm a diabetic.
So now you're diabetic, okay. There's too much here. What you do, Dietrich, is you put this all in an email and email it to me. Because I want to know, you like you say, you've been on the products for a few months. I don't know if you were sick before the products and you want the products to help you or what's going on. But, the way you're coming across, it's like, are the products harming me? Are they causing any of these problems? And, I want to get to the bottom of it because I know they're not, but I don't want to leave this unanswered. So will you email me and I'll see if we'll get to the bottom of it. And be sure about this T-cell business because I don't think you're talking about T-cells being 20 and 40. That's not how they're measured. So just, get everything clear and so, you can spend time on it. Like you say, you don't have to be rushed. And we'll, I'll try to get to the bottom of it with you, okay?
Okay. Then one more question. Will the sea salt in your water cause your legs and feet to swell up, or that shouldn't take place?
No, it shouldn't. What happens, I think it's more the table salt that would do that. There's the sodium chloride. It retains fluid and holds the fluid in the tissues, whereas sea salt, with all the 72 minerals, it seems to go into the cells and pull the water into the cells after it and actually take the water out of the tissues.
Okay.
So it's got to be a good sea salt, though, because a lot of people are getting into the sea salt business, so you'll see a lot of cheap ones. So, look for Himalayan sea salt or Celtic salt or something of good quality.
Okay. Okay. All right.
So you can send the email to our RNA website, support@rnareset.com. And if I don't get it directly, Jenny will send it to me and we'll sort things out, okay?
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Dietrich. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dietrich. Yes, Dietrich is a very loyal customer, constantly doing his little thing. But again, Dietrich, let me just remind you the email address is support, SUPPORT, @rnareset.com. Okay, so go ahead and send it to me, and I will definitely get it to Carolyn. Very good. All right, let's continue our calls. Again, this is Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. And we have had a couple complaints about the sound. Bill, our producer, is all over it, so just hang in there. If there is garbledness, we will try to get it out of the archive so you don't pick it up when you re-listen to the show. And let's go to area code 248. I believe that's up in the great state of Michigan. You're on the line with Dr. Carolyn Dean. Did you have a question? Hello?
Hello? Am I on?
Oh, yes. Okay. You're on.
I'm a new listener. I just heard about Dr. Dean a week ago. I got a leaky gut diagnosis September 8th from a live blood study. I've finished the 3-month restrictive diet. But I still have white-coated tongue. I have had a long time fibromyalgia diagnosis, 5 years. Hypoglycemia from my early adulthood. I have no gallbladder. That was removed. I have syndrome X. I have insulin resistant cells. I cannot ingest vitamin D, but I do have a UV bulb system. I cannot metabolize vitamin B. I have a holistic doctor. Right now I just finished Repair Vite to try to repair my small intestine. I have high homocysteine level, so I take a GMG capsule, which has B2 and B12 in it, and folic acid and choline. But if I cannot metabolize them, maybe it is a metabolized product, I don't know. So years ago, my doctor told me he sold a liquid magnesium that I'm supposed to shower and then brush this on my skin, going towards the heart always, wrap myself in the sheet, and, but was that very effective, or, taking...
Yeah, that can be effective. Epsom salt bath through the skin can be effective, because I couldn't take enough magnesium by giving me the lack. I created the Remag product, which is a very, very concentrated liquid magnesium that you take by mouth, but it does not cause a laxative effect. And what's your name? You didn't give your name?
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Judy.
Hi, Judy. Well, I don't know if you've been listening the whole time, but your story sounds so much like the 54-year-old earlier on. How old are you, Judy?
I did miss that. I just tuned in. I did hear the sugar conversation. I'm 64 years old.
Right. So what you do is you go back to the timing was 26 minutes into the first hour, where I went through a whole list of things that a 54-year-old had with her hypoglycemia and thyroid and this and that and all her symptoms. And she basically was saying that by taking the whole Completement formula line, that her symptoms just started melting away. What we talked about right at the outset was the Realign product, where we have all the methylated Bs for treating the high homocysteine. The leaky gut is usually yeast overgrowth, so that should be treated. And the recommendations I have for that, I don't have products on them, but I have recommendations, and you can look in our archives for exactly how I treat that. So there's, I mean, it sounds like a lot. I mean, it can be very depressing when you say, oh, this and this and this and this and this. But when I break it down, if you were my client, I'd be saying, well, the syndrome X and insulin resistance, that actually in my Magnesium Miracle book, I talk about that being a magnesium deficiency. I would focus on saturating with magnesium, getting a magnesium RBC blood test just to prove it to yourself where you are with the magnesium.
RBC blood test?
Yes, and you can go to the RNA Reset FAQ page and download the free Remag and Relight books. And the magnesium RBC test, you can even order it yourself online, an online company called requesttest.com. And to me, that's the bottom line, is not being able to metabolize your sugars. This is low magnesium. Fibromyalgia to me is low magnesium, and yeast overgrowth. All these things I put together in that way. Now, when you say, did you say you can't metabolize vitamin B as in Bob or D as in Dean?
D as in Dean, right. It gives me a headache because there's, the vitamin D drops, so it makes me ill. And
do you know why that is? Do you know why that is?
No.
I know why that is. It's because vitamin D requires a lot of magnesium in order to metabolize it. So every time you take vitamin D in a supplement form, some people will tell me even when they go in the sunshine, they get the headache or get their magnesium deficiency symptoms because it overuses their magnesium. And what are doctors doing these days but testing everyone for vitamin D and saying, oh, you're low and you have to take, 5,000 units of it. So everything that I'm saying is in the Remag and Relight books. You can follow what's been happening to you over the past couple of decades and see if it makes sense. I mean, if you get a sense that, all right, these are all my yeast symptoms, these are my mineral symptoms, and then you can decide whether or not you want to take the complement formulas and see if that makes a difference.
Sure. I have nothing to lose. I've spent, a small fortune on, I couldn't, detox programs and supplements, et cetera. Now, is there any, do you think the bottom line is the autoimmune problem? Because I heard today from someone else that there's no cure for it.
Well, that's crazy. There's a cure for everything, and that's just somebody who's got an opinion and throws it out and gets everybody scared. The bottom line, I've already said, and you'll read it in the books, the bottom line in my world is yeast overgrowth because we do all the antibiotics and we eat the sugars and we keep growing yeast, and doctors never address it. And then with the mineral deficiencies, there's no magnesium in the soil anymore. And when you have yeast overgrowth, you make a lot of acetaldehyde that the magnesium has to detoxify, so it's drained in that regard. The chlorine and fluoride in water will bind up the magnesium. So to me, until you treat the yeast, and get saturated with magnesium, take the other minerals as well to balance them out, which I have in my Relight, do gentle detox, none of these purges, none of this crazy stuff, just gentle detox with Realign, then that to me is just the most simple, basic way to address everything that you've talked about.
And I have a whole house water filtration system and an under-the-sink purifying system to take the chlorine and the fluoride out of my water. Mm-hmm. So, that's helpful.
But then, Judy, it takes everything out. So that's where I make sure people are taking sea salt in everything they drink. And
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Good. So, if clients who approach me, most of them are on dozens and dozens of supplements, and, we both agree at a certain point, if they had been helping, we wouldn't be having this conversation. So, like you say, you've got nothing to lose, but at the same time, I'm not going to say, well, take these and you'll be fine. I'm not going to pat you on the head, and I'm just going to send you to the information and you make your decision, because you have to intellectually understand what's going on so that your brain doesn't keep saying, wow, nothing ever worked before, so why should this work? Well, I explain why this should work and why it's taken me over 40 years to kind of really consolidate everything and make it very, very easy to understand, but also it just need a handful of things. You don't need to take supplements just based on, the words in the advertising, because that's what everybody's doing. They're hearing things like, well, your immune system is defunct, or this autoimmune disease, and all that is just crazy. Autoimmune disease is the body attacking a diseased self, and the diseased self, the diseased tissues are from yeast toxins interacting and cross-reacting. So get rid of the yeast toxins. And, people will tell me, well, I did a yeast detox 10 years ago, as if that, is the end of it. Well, with the yeast detox, if you continue to eat sugar and periodically take antibiotics or have a lot of stress, you need to keep doing yeast detox.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my story, Judy, and I'm going to stick with it.
You are. It's worth sticking with for sure. Now, is there ever a point where it's too late, such as
never?
Never. Okay. such as, I hear this leaky gut can lead to, autoimmune, heart disease.
They don't know that. They don't know
diabetes.
That. No.
And dementia. And so I thought, oh, dear, that's all I need is dementia now. But,
well, leaky gut is, in my opinion, caused by yeast overgrowth, as yeast are, irritating and attacking the small intestine wall. And for that, as you'll read in some of my information, I do the yeast detox along with Prescript Assist, a very good probiotic. So the leaky gut can be taken care of. It's really unfortunate that doctors spend so much time, diagnosing all these untreatable conditions, whereas they are treatable. I've even heard doctors say, well, you have a leaky gut, there's no point in even giving you supplements because they're not going to be absorbed. Well, this is where the Remag and Relight are so beneficial because they're in their picometer size are so absorbed, so well absorbed, 100% absorbed at the cellular level, then they're going to actually heal those cells in the leaky gut.
Mm. Oh, excellent. So I don't need this combo that I'm taking. Well, I'll be finished with it. It has like L-glutamine in it and licorice root and whatever.
I've never found L-glutamine to be healing for the gut. In all the people I've had over the years, and they've all been on their L-glutamine because someone said it was good for them. I've never seen it work. That's my experience with it. But I can't, that's all I can say is my experience. I can't tell you what to do with it.
That's, what I've researched online. It says L-glutamine in the licorice root, et cetera. But I haven't seen a whole lot of changes in the last 3 months with the healing the leaky gut. Tomorrow I will have another live blood test, and they're expensive just to see if, what's left in the blood, whether there's, I don't know, I guess she's looking for yeast colonies, the nurse. But there's no, Quest Diagnostics would not have this RBC blood test that you're talking about. Then I would have to.
They should. Well, yeah, you can get a doctor's prescription. I mean, that's all written in my Remag book. So for these details, just go to the literature, and so, we can move on to the next caller if you don't mind.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Dean, very much. Bye-bye.
Okay, Judy. Thank you. Good questions.
Very good about that, Carolyn. I was on mute. Very good. We're live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. Thank you, everybody, for calling to participate this evening. And, of course, Judy, just to remind you that a lot of the archived information that Carolyn spoke of, including the Remag and Relight book, can be found at the radio show archive website, which is drcarolyndeanlive.com, and that's DrCarolynDean live.com. And there's a whole group of resources there for you. So if you have any questions accessing that information, you can also contact support to support at rnareset.com or call the toll-free number 888-577-3703, and you can get telephone support as well. So happy to help you find the information that you need to make the best decisions that you need to make for your own future and your own well-being. Carolyn Janella in New York typed in again, boy, she's busy typing tonight. Is the tired feeling one has after spending hours in the sun due to low magnesium levels after getting too much vitamin D in its most natural form?
I don't, you are kind of breaking up a little bit, so say that slower and again.
Okay, is the tired feeling that one may have after spending hours in the sun, like I used to do, could that be due to low magnesium levels after getting too much sun, so much vitamin D?
Yeah. I think it can. I really do, because, and I didn't realize this until people started emailing me and telling me that, that they would get even worse symptoms after being in the sun. So it's quite possible. I mean, you could say it's also dehydration, or you're sweating out your minerals and not replacing them, and just getting a little bit of mini sunstroke. But maybe sunstroke is magnesium deficiency. That's a good point.
Oh, very good. All right, very good. Always exploring and learning new things. Wonderful, wonderful. Mm-hmm. Again, live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on Achieve Radio. If you have a question or comment, you can use many of the methods we talked about earlier, including calling into the show. The phone lines are open at 602-666-6027. Carolyn, why don't we do a couple mailbag questions? And I know you had talked about having a great long email that you wanted to dive into.
Yes. Actually, this is a shorter one, and it's a woman. I live in England. We're not too impressed with doctors here. I just leaned on something. Okay. A while back, I read your book, Magnesium Miracle. I'm taking Remag, which had an instant effect on my leg cramps. And this is her question, though. My daughter has a baby who's now 7 months old, and she feels he might have silent reflux. He used to have hiccups all the time and does burp and fart, especially at night, which wakes him, and he cries continuously till he has more milk, then wakes up again 2 or 3 hours later. He doesn't sound anywhere near as bad as other people's babies I've read about on the Internet. Most of the time he's happy. Big for his age. Would he benefit from magnesium? Is it safe for babies of 7 months? And she says, excuse me for asking, but some of the babies I've read about are taking 3 different drugs for reflux, and they're younger than he is. And there's a real epidemic of these symptoms in babies, and they don't know how to treat it. Doctors, they just give all these adult medications for reflux. So what I used to do when I was in my practice was massaging their stomachs down because it was possibly a mild hiatus hernia. And what I'll send my clients to is a YouTube on hiatus hernia that they can just find online. I will. I've emailed that to Ginny. If you want to, you can put that within the today's notes. And basically, the top of the stomach is attached to the esophagus. And where the esophagus and stomach meet, the diaphragms intersect. And sometimes, a child after vomiting or, heavy burping, the tip of their stomach can get trapped in between the diaphragms and just, cause pain for one thing, or cause a chronic reflux to occur. So I get, I would massage in the office or get the parents just to massage the stomach down a little bit. I'd also be thinking about yeast overgrowth with that type of burping. And with children, they can take a good probiotic. Prescript Assist has been studied on children, and under my resources on my website at drcarolyndean.com is the page where you can go to the Prescript Assist. And what you do is just sprinkle, quarter to half a capsule in water or on their food and use that daily. And Remag, yes, it's like food that we need. And with babies, it's just 1/3 of the adult dose. You can look up the RDA for babies. Magnesium is definitely required in babies, and it will help if the stomach problem or the symptoms are related to kind of a stomach spasm. And they'll also help with digestion. So that is that mailbag. Shall I go on?
Please, yes, please.
Okay, so the long report here. I was diagnosed with atrial fibrillation 12 years ago. It started with an irregular heartbeat from time to time and got worse over the years. Now I have a permanent irregular heartbeat. I am in consultation with a cardiologist. She has prescribed beta blockers and Coumadin, none of which actually did anything to cure me. She said the beta blocker would keep my heart from beating too fast. Luckily, my atrial fibrillation does not interfere with my life or work. I barely know I have it. Can only feel my heartbeat if I check my pulse. My brother has also developed atrial fibrillation, and he told me my mother had it as well. She lived to be 85. She says the diagnosis threw me for a loop as I was always healthy. I ate well, avoided junk, used natural and homeopathic remedies. And then she says on the beta blockers, I gained about 50 pounds in the past 10 years. In addition, I had high blood pressure and raised glucose levels. It seemed to come all at once. Now, when you hear something like that, when you're taking the beta blockers, they are going to lower your magnesium levels, and yes, you would develop high blood pressure and raise glucose levels that seem to come all at once because of the beta blockers. And they'll come, you know, more so when someone who's already low in magnesium. And with atrial fibrillation, yes, you're low in magnesium. I was always looking, for a natural cure for these problems without resorting to serious prescription drugs. I only consented to the beta blockers and Coumadin because my doctor scared me into taking them. Somewhere along the way, I came upon your book. It made so much sense. I decided to take magnesium, started Remag in June. I was in New York at the time, visiting friends, and realized that after a few days I was walking around the city not feeling tired, and I was not depressed. I couldn't believe it. When I took my blood pressure, it was 112/70. Unbelievable. I continued this regimen until I returned to Poland, where I work. In a couple of months, I was up to 2 to 3 teaspoons a day of Remag. My friend said I looked happy. My doctor was impressed. I'd also lost a bit of weight. The only thing that it didn't help was my insomnia. And so then I told her sea salt and Relight were the next step. But then, this is, I guess, the instructive part of this testimonial. She said, in the meantime, I ran out of Remag, but thought I found a similar product, a Good State Ionic Magnesium, on Amazon Minerals. It seemed to be exactly the same product. And then I put down exactly the ingredients, but then she said, after a couple of weeks ago, I went to bed and didn't sleep a wink. So then she described to me, you know, how she started to feel worse and worse and worse and worse. And what, when I looked, and I know what's in this Good State Ionic Magnesium, they put the fulvic acid in there, and it is about half the concentration of Remag, so it's a lesser amount. But this fulvic acid, I had tried it in relation to product, and I didn't think it was a detox. You see, what they say about fulvic acid, it'll help the absorption of minerals. But when you use a picometer ionic product like Remag, you don't need any help with the minerals. If you're using folic acid on top of it, you're actually driving these minerals in. You're not sort of letting the minerals go in naturally. It's another forced situation. And then with the ionic trace minerals, what they're using in those is something called Calzyme, which is a calcium product. So she went to a lower dosage magnesium that was with the fulvic acid, which I recommend against, and a calcium. So the calcium was probably taking out a lot of her magnesium. And this is where people, you can look this stuff up. Everything's on the internet. You know, look up these elements. You could ask Ginny and me, but try to do your homework first because we're dealing with so many people. But you can see this trace mineral ionic product is calcium salts extracted from the sea, concentrates through decomposition over time. And it's called a calcium salt, calzyme. And it's, when I looked it up directly, it's sold mainly for soil and livestock, and it's 96% calcium by weight. So, you know, I told her that I think she's wanting a consultation with me, but to me it's pretty straightforward that she's being affected because of a shift in nutrients. And I think the subject of her email when she sent it was, you know, Remag and Relight making me worse. And, of course, that gets my attention because I know they don't. And it turns out she switched to something she thought was like Remag and Relight and then blamed Remag and Relight. So I'll have a word with her when I talk to her. So that's interesting. I mean, that type of thing we're going to see more and more as more products, you know, claim to be like ours, and they aren't.
Absolutely, and that's interesting that was mostly calcium. Wow. Yeah, nothing like what we got. So we know that. That is so cool. Oh, wow. Very good. For the hour, if you have a question or comment you'd like to sneak in before the show closes tonight, it'd be a good time to do it. Lines are open 602-666-6027. We'll put you on the line with Dr. Carolyn Dean. Welcome again to all our regular listeners as well as all the new people who join us every single week. It just seems, Carolyn, that the products continue. What's so great about it is it's all word of mouth. We're having, like, you know, it's hardly, I mean, I don't think, when was the last time we did any advertising? I don't know, a couple of years ago. It's all word of mouth. It's just people feeling good, telling other people they feel good, telling other people they feel good. And it is very gratifying to see the snowball effect of the products working that way in people's lives.
Hey, Ginny, did you see on the chat line someone was with an Ionette yesterday or today and said their face was glowing? Did you see that?
Yes, I did, but I didn't. I was just scanning through it, Bob. I didn't know who they saw or what. I don't know.
Yeah, I think they saw Jean, and Jean went, thanks. So might have been talking about Jean, who's on the chat line. Maybe Jean could confirm that.
Very good. Very good. Awesome. Yeah, very, very nice. Yeah, very nice. So, any add, Bob?
Oh, I did want to say this. I was going to say this at the end of the show. How lucky people are hearing this show today to begin the new year with this information. Carol's being very articulate and clear. It usually is, but it's just coming through very good. And lucky people hearing it to start the new year with.
Yeah, it's a fantastic way. It's a very fantastic way to start the new year. That's right. On the right vibe, on the right frequency, catch the wave, and I'm sitting on top of the world. Isn't that what the Beach Boys?
Yeah, I like the way you said we are just doing it by word of mouth at this point, and I mean, there's no desperation here. We're not trying to force people to take this. It's for whosoever will, and they're the best people because their friends tell them about it. I have people emailing me saying they'll buy a dozen of my Magnesium Miracle books on Amazon at a great price, and they'll just hand them out. They'll hand them out to people. They'll hear people talking about their ills and their problems, and then, well, try this. and it's fantastic. It's just is amazing how receptive and responsive people are being, and we wish they'd be receptive and responsive to RNA drops, but then we have to bring them to the website, give them information about RNA drops, talk about it on the radio show. But it's hard to promote RNA drops to a skeptical audience. It does not think that we can achieve a glowing look and be shiny and our hair grows dark and all the rest of the things that people claim. But that's all we hear from people. So we have to accept it as truth.
Absolutely, and the drops have had their day and will continue to have their day. They are a very unique formula, and they're formulas for people who who feel good and want to feel better and don't have any limitations. And some of the people that we work with, Carolyn, as you know, are using the magnesium and some of our other mineral protocols and stuff to replace drug therapies and that, and they're in a desperate health position. And the uncertainty of what they can get from the drops, they're just like, okay, I need something I know I can count on. And then eventually you see it, again, you see it. They get in there and they start to feel better, and then they're like, okay, now I can think about these drops. Then they get a sample bottle, then they get the regular, and then it kind of migrates through. So the proof's in the pudding. We encourage people to use all the formulas, but it's just so comprehensive and coherent what's happening. Eventually it'll all click in the way it could,
Yes, and we don't advertise. We're not desperate. We're not trying to force or push. We just have such confidence in what we're doing that we know people will come to them in their own timing, and that is what's happening. It's always been, Bob's noticed that about my process. Bob, will you mute yourself? There's a bit of feedback in the house here. About my process, when I went into practice in Toronto, I don't think I even had a sign up, and I was swamped. It was always word of mouth. So it's interesting how that's continued with our evolution with the RNAreset.com.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you're obviously such a great doctor, Carol. People pick up on it. They were shocked that this little girl came into Toronto and started talking to people, and everything just spread rapidly because they said, well, this person's different. This is actually what we thought a doctor should be.
Right, and actually what the complement formulas are is what everybody hoped nutrients would be. It's clear, it's concise, it's progressive. And, by the way, magnesium's great and the electrolytes are great, and we wouldn't even need them if we had decent soil and great minerals in our food. But there is nothing that's going to be able to touch those RNA drops. That's 450 million light years ahead of the curve. We'll be talking about those things, a couple millennia from now. So, we're way ahead of the curve with those things. And for people who like being on the leading edge of creation, for people who do have that confidence or really want to arrive before the ball gets to the bat, that's who the drops are for, because they are going to put you ahead of the curve. And even if, whatever that is for you, it doesn't even matter. So those things are just incredible, and they're going to continue to be incredible, and everything else that falls out of the eye cell is going to be amazing. And we can just kick back and relax and fill our boxes with goodies and send them to people all over the world to ask about the products and hear about it from their friends and other people who feel good, and just watch the whole thing unfold, because it's amazing what's happening.
Yeah, since we're going to be here forever, we got all the time in the world.
We're not in a hurry, and I think other people are in a hurry to feel good, and I don't blame them. And they certainly would probably be in a hurry to get out of their mental strength and duress and stress, and that's cool too. That's what the drops are for, and the magnesium. All of it all works together. But we'll just be here doing our thing, clickety-clack down the track, and everything will be working beautifully, and it'll just continue to be amazing, and we'll just keep getting these great testimonials and fascinating and fabulous things. I had a person email me the other day and said, I'm just going to share this for Joe because I know he's been on the chat line all night. This person sends me this email, and they say, I have this strange and rare thing called ankylosing spondylitis. Nobody ever recovers from it, and I'm sure your products can't do anything. But on just the off chance that maybe something might help me, I just wrote back. I was like, dude, get it already. My gosh, you can't believe what's going to happen to you in your body. And I sent him to the testimonial, Joe's testimonial about getting over his ankylosing spondylitis and running around on his bicycle and everything, and now his whole family's hooked on these RNA drops and everything. And this guy was shocked. I mean, just stunned. So, you know, it's fun.
Yeah, it is great, and it's giving people hope in a very hopeless medical community because they've taken away our hope and just kept adding drugs to people as a means to create a business of our ill health and not realizing, or maybe realizing, that they're just adding to our ill health. It's quite the opposite of what I went into medicine to do.
Yeah, it is really like handing everybody a winning lottery ticket, even though they don't know that that's what you've handed them. But they've just hit the jackpot, definitely. It's so great. And like you said, you went into medicine to do what you're doing. And I went into the ministry to see people get relief from their pain, mental, emotional, and physical, and that's exactly what's happening right before my eyes. We talk a lot about the physical results, but Jeannie, people have incredible. Yep.
You and Carolyn did that. Carolyn went into medicine with that intention. They took away her license. You went into Indianapolis with your outreach, and it became very negative. Well, people got mad at you. Many people in the regular churches got mad at Ginny.
Yeah.
So, wonderful contrast. If you follow our route, you will have wonderful contrast, and you'll overcome it. So, enjoy that.
And then you'll end up on the winning team. Yes, very good.
In the long run, we're the winning team.
That's right.
People that took Carolyn's license away, they're probably dead now. And here's Carolyn sitting here in paradise. I mean, talk about a winning team.
No doubt. Joe is asking about methylcolumbine B12. Is that anything like our B12 that we've got in the Realign, Carolyn?
That's exactly.
It's in the Realign, Joe.
Yeah. Methylcobalamin B12, right?
Yeah, just methylcobalamin or whatever, B12. Joe, just get some new Realign. You'll be fine. Okay, Ron in Chicago says, I'm taking Dexilant PPI, and I want to get off of it. You told my wife during the former show I should take DGL, which I now have. Will that prevent the GERD pain and protect against reoccurrence of Barrett's esophagus? How do I wean off the PPI? Can PPI be taken with the DGL and the elemental P?
Yeah, I can't tell you exactly what to do, of course, Ron, but you can take the DGL licorice, chew 1 to 2 before a meal, and personally, I would not stop my PPI until I felt better on the DGL. And then talk to your doctor about just weaning off if your symptoms are improving on the DGL. But with Barrett's esophagitis, we'll see whether or not, that diagnosis is correct. Sometimes they overdiagnose people just to make sure they take those drugs. There's a magnesium deficiency with the PPIs that the FDA has advised manufacturers to put on their products now, so be sure you're taking your Remag as well, and probably all the complete metformins are going to be helpful, including the RNA drops to help heal your esophagus. So it's that's pretty much exactly what I say to people about weaning off the drugs. I can't tell them to. I just say, take our products, and as you're feeling better, you won't need your drugs. And your doctor should agree unless he's getting a cut of the action.
Very good, very good. Also, Ron says the Barrett's is now gone. So, okay, very good. Nancy in Portland says, Carolyn, it's so great to hear you all again. Today's show has had dialogue glitches periodically, so words have been missing here and there. I get so irritated with that because I listen closely to all you say, and I don't want to miss anything. So she's happy you're back on the air, Carolyn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we are too. I kind of miss it. I really enjoy stimulating my own brain and my own memory and knowledge of things. When people ask me questions, I go back in the recesses of my brain to things that I didn't even hear. I haven't even studied since the mid-'70s, so it's kind of fun for me. And also, as you can tell, it really does come back to balancing your minerals, getting rid of yeast, and being happy. Get happy, for Pete's sakes. That's what we want.
That's right. That's right. Very good. Well, this has been Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on Achieve Radio. We've only got about a minute left in the show. Marie's typing in from Australia and saying that she wants to make sure that we talked about Mia. We did, Marie. We talked about Mia earlier. You missed it. But we were on. She's so sweet. And let's see, anything else?
And I'll tell her it was. Let me say it was at 44 minutes into the first hour that we talked about Mia, Marie. So go back to that in the archives.
Very good, very good. So, Carolyn, congratulations on everything. Lots more wonderful things to happen again. New Realign going in the boxes this week if you're ordering it, or as you continue to order it, you'll get the new formula. Next week we'll be back probably with even more amazing things happening. This is what I'm thinking.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Do not miss next week's show.
That's right. That's a big hint, everybody. Don't miss next week's show. Great stuff coming down the pike for everybody's benefit. All right. Well, this has been Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Carolyn. And we'll be back next week with another amazing show.
Thank you, Ginny. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Ginny. Thank you, Bob.
Yay! Yay! Yay!